Hi, everybody. I got everything set up in here today to do another photo shoot. And while I had everything in order, I thought that I would take a moment to check in and talk a little bit about biofield tuning and what it is. And because a lot of people hear of it, but don't necessarily know what it really is and what it really does. And so I thought I'd just take a few minutes to really describe to you what biofield tuning is and how it can help you to feel better. I've been receiving sessions now since 2010 when I started training my first students. And the amount of things that I've been able to heal in myself from receiving tuning has just been amazing. I've compiled a list, but I know that I used to have terrible digestion like so many people do. I used to get stomach aches and gas and bloating and just a lot of discomfort, heartburn. I couldn't eat dairy, I couldn't eat gluten. And all of that's been fixed. And it's been fixed through biofield tuning. And now I can eat whatever I want. And luckily, because I have to, because I travel so much. But so how did that work? How did my digestion improve through biofield tuning? Two ways. One is that a lot of people's digestion is off because their adrenals are running. And so when you are in sympathetic on and your adrenals are going and you're rushing and you've got all this energy that goes to your muscles, but it doesn't go to your digestion. So one of the key practices in biofield tuning is called an adrenal rhythm reset. And, if you've got adrenal burnout and you go see a naturopath, they're going to give you a lot of supplements to take. But in biofield tuning, what we do is we use a simple tuning fork. It's so low tech. And we use that in your body's energy field. So we bring the tuning fork in closer to the body. And when we get to be about 3 feet away or so, you can't really see my hand, but it's out there, we hit the edge of the adrenal field. Your adrenals have a field. They have a very strong field because your adrenals are a really important part of your body and your ability to survive. And we will lock phase with the rhythm of your adrenals. We'll be able to tell what kind of rhythm it's moving at. So if you've been under stress for a long time, your adrenals are running too high and they're running too fast. And so what we want to do is we want to help them to find their healthy rhythm, their factory setting. And we do that by reflecting back to them what they sound like. So your body is kind of like an auto-tuning device. And it always wants to fix itself. And it's always looking to all available inputs to fix itself. And coherent sound is a really easy, simple, elegant way for the body to get more coherent. It will hear its own incoherence, and it will use that input to adjust rhythms and flows and tempos to get them back into the right rhythm. So I used to have terrible adrenals, tendency to burn myself out like a lot of people do. I burned myself out in my early 20s in my restaurant, working 100-hour weeks, working months without a day off. I just toasted myself. And then I did it again when I was in my 40s because I was going to school and I was writing a book and I was building a practice and I was building a teaching and I had kids and I just worked too hard and too long and really, really burnt myself out. Luckily, I figured out how to not do that anymore. But I had 3 adrenal rhythm resets from one of my apprentices. And in the practice of getting those done, combined with other tuning as well, because it's not only our rhythms that get off, like your adrenal rhythm, but it's also, we all have a tendency, I'm not going to say all, but many of us have a tendency to give our power away. People who have leaky gut, there's very much a tendency to say yes when you mean no, to put other people's needs ahead of your own, to burn the candle at both ends, to not take care of yourself. And when you do that, you're your whole will center just goes kind of like that. And your energy, which is supposed to be in your body, which is supposed to be coherent, which is supposed to be clear, becomes dissipated. It becomes full of noise and static. And so through biofield tuning, through getting your field more clear and more coherent and your rhythms back into place, you can actually heal from food sensitivities, food allergies, all of this sort of leaky, unpleasant stomach stuff. It can be fixed, and fixed pretty easily and pretty non-invasively. Depending on how long you've had it and how bad it is, it might take a number of sessions. But the more sessions that I've received, I've noticed that I've just become more light, more clear, more grounded, more focused. The mind, this is one of the really big things that I've observed with people, is that most people have very undisciplined and troublesome thinking minds. And that's another thing that I've been able to really conquer through this method, because those are all just rhythms and electromagnetic patterns in your body. We can find them. If you have a tendency to think too much about the future, if you worry about the future, I know where that is in your field. It's right here. And it's like this little thing that goes like that and spins and fusses about the future. And we can actually find that with a tuning fork, and we can get it to settle down, and we can bring it to center and get you in the present moment. When your energies are aligned along the midline of your body, you are residing in this present moment. And what happens to people as they go through life and go through stress, kind of lose bits of ourselves as we go. If you've gone through a terribly stressful experience of maybe taking care of difficult kids, or taking care of sick parents, or starting a busy business, or whatever it is, we sort of leave bits of ourselves on the path behind us. And what's cool about biofield tuning is that we can actually go into your past. So the premise is that your memories are stored in your field in standing waves, and that a tuning fork acts kind of like a needle on an album. So your field extends about 6 feet in either direction, front and back. And a tuning fork, when it's passing through your field, will interact with the standing waves that are present, and the tone will change. And and my more advanced practitioners are able to hear those changes in tone and figure out what specific memory they might be related to. So we can find things like car accidents and bad characters and stressful time periods, and they're all encoded in this sort of waveform language in your field. So we can find them, and then they reflect that by being dissonant. We hear that dissonance in the tone. We actually feel a sense of resistance in the field, which kind of has led me to feel like there's stuff here, that bioplasma has a kind of stuff or substance to it. And just by holding a tuning fork in an incoherent area, the body hears its own noise and it resolves it. And any energy that's been trapped in that incoherent waveform releases. The tuning fork acts kind of like a broom or a magnet, and it brings that energy back into the body. And so in this way, it's anti-aging, it's syntropic, or what do they call it? Neg entropy. So it's the opposite of entropy, where you actually get your life force back. And I can say honestly, for me at 50, that I have more energy than I've ever had. I feel light and clear and grounded at the same time. And I'm very quiet inside, because I think that all of these unresolved things in our system actually make noise. They make a kind of stress. And we find it in the field. It sounds like noise. And if you've ever been exposed to noise, like a car alarm or something like that, you know that noise makes you tense up. And so all of these places in our field where we have noise, we actually have subconscious tension. And so when we get the noise out of the signal, the tension releases. And that's really the only claim that we make in biofield tuning, is that by getting the noise out of the signal, the body relaxes. And when the body relaxes, everything functions properly, everything flows. And that's what you want. You want to have a system in flow. And I can guarantee you that if you are having a hard time physically, mentally, emotionally in some way, that you're stuck somewhere. You're stuck. We get stuck in these loops, because unfortunately, tracks that get laid down early become the tracks of our lives, and then we loop around in them. Energy is just going to flow along established pathways. It's not easy to break those patterns by ourselves. And what's really cool is that somebody can come in with a tuning fork and find exactly where that pattern is in your field and your body and interrupt it, reset it to neutral, which then allows you to move from a place of neutrality instead of habit. And the more that you get these loops of non-beneficial inputs, that maybe started at birth. I've seen so many baby boomers all have the same patterns where, they were bottle fed on a schedule. Mom was knocked out when they were born. There wasn't bonding that happened. Very bad birth practices after World War II. And it's really led to a whole host of dysfunction in the baby boomer generation that really stems from birth and infancy. And, so many people, I understand now why the baby boomers drove the self-help movement and this feeling like something's wrong with them and it's their fault and they're bad or broken in some way. But it's really just about inputs, and especially those early inputs. And, most forms of therapy don't get to that precognitive level under the age of 3. Even going back to the beginning of gestation, we can read that record in biofield tuning and we can modulate those early inputs that you don't even remember. We can change the way that your body refers to those memories, and it can be incredibly liberating. Biofield tuning also works at a distance. So, if you want to see a practitioner, but there's nobody in your area, I know it sounds odd, and I didn't believe that it was possible to be done at a distance. People asked me for years, and I was so I get annoyed by it. I'm like, of course I don't do it at a distance. This is impossible at a distance. I was so skeptical about it. And then somebody persuaded me to do it, and I did it, and it worked. And I had to, say I was wrong. All these years, I didn't think it's possible. I actually just did it, and I can do the same kind of reading. So can my students. And the same kind of adjustment. In fact, I don't even receive in-person sessions. All I ever get when I feel like I need a tune-up is a distance session. So I would just invite you to be open to those. It can also be done in groups. I do group sessions, and I wouldn't have thought that was possible either. But I've actually put my own hologram in every single group audio session that I do, and I've received benefit from every single one of them. I think I've done something like 250 of those at this point, and gone through every organ and every system. And even though you guys think that I might be doing them for you, it's always like, okay, what do I need now? The way for me to work on myself and treat other people all at the same time. So those audios are available. And in fact, for those of you listening right now, I have a PDF that has 10 of all of the free sessions I've ever done. I just dragged that out this morning. So give me a shout if you want one. I'll just post it here in the comments. And that gives you a way to try it out. If you haven't, you can try some of these free ones. The sound quality isn't that great, but you have to get past the sound and into the energy adjustment that's taking place underneath. Because that's what's really happening. Whether you do it in person, whether you do it at a distance, whether you do a recording, we are adjusting the template, the blueprint that the body is built on. And once you fix the blueprint, then the body fixes itself. It sounds just a great medium for doing that. Okay, so that's it for today. Just wanted to check in. Give me a ping if you want those sessions, and I will be happy to send them. And everybody take care and be well. Okay, bye.